It's hard to believe that here we are at month 8 already, and this lesson will put everything together except the borders for the quilt, so we're almost done. And you'll get to see again, the main thing is how the partial seam works, which is perfect in this lesson as well as it was in the last one. First of all, we're going to be sewing 3 pieces together. It's the F, H, and I piece. Let me just show you what these are. You'll make 6 of these. So here you see F, H, and I. Just a seam here, a seam here. This is the one you have to worry about because this is where you need a Y seam. So at this one you have to stop at the dot. But otherwise, this is a straight line seam. Just this one, you start at the edge here, so only to the dots because we have to fit something in here. You make 6 of those, and then those 6 are all going to go around the quilt. So let me show you. We'll put one here. Now remember this extra little piece? We've got to fold it back. So this is just one straight line seam all the way across here. And once you get that seam in there, then the next stage is we flip this back. Remember how we did the partial seams last month? Just flip this back, pin it carefully, sew right along your sewing line, and then that completes that partial seam. So it makes it just a straight line sewing. Now the next step, we do have a little bit of an inset seam here. We're going to be sewing this piece into here. So we've got an inset seam right here and an inset seam right here. What I prefer doing, because I mentioned last month briefly as well, that we want these designs at the miter. That's why we were so careful cutting out the pieces and marking them. So I first will sew this miter, and then I will sew this miter, and then I'll do this long seam across. That way you can work to get these corners exactly matched up so they go together. The next step, we're going to do exactly the same thing and work our way around counterclockwise. So where we've sewn that seam, now we have this going in here. You've got the partial seam there. You just sew that partial seam. Once again, we will take the border piece, lay it along here. Sew the short edges first, and then the long edge, so that way you get those miters to match. And you work your way all the way around the piece. The last one will go in here. I'm just going to put these pieces in here so you see, and then you'll once again sew the border in there. Sew the 2 short edges first so you can get the design to match, and then the long one. But you see, other than just these couple of things where we're doing the border, but everything else is all straight line sewing. The next stage is to add the J piece. That's that really long piece of fabric that you had to make the template for and splice it together, the big long J template. And if you haven't done it already, there's places to mark dots, not only at these joinings at the points, but in the middle of the template, not really in the middle, but each on 2 sides, you'll find those dots that we mentioned to you previously. So you're going to lay the template onto each one of these fabric J pieces that you've cut and mark a dot through the hole directly onto the fabric. And that's very important because it tells you where to line up. This fabric, this light colored fabric, is directional, and so when you cut it out, we had you put the straight grain across the middle. It means these edges are biased and they can do some stretching, and you don't want that to happen, and you don't want to distort your shape. So by having these dots right at the point where those come together of the diamond, you know that's exactly how it has to line up. And then if this piece has stretched just a little bit, you just pull it in and ease that piece in, and that way it gets rid of any bias edge that might stretch. So that's the purpose of those dots. You want to make sure to take advantage of them. And you're going to sew this piece then all the way around each of the sides of your piece. Just remember to match those dots and get the piece nice and straight. And that white strip, the J strip, is going to go around all the sides of your quilt top. Previously, in another lesson, we already added the border to this corner piece. So now it's just a matter of laying it on here, and then we'll put another one on the other side, and you get it all on straight, and we'll have everything that you need to have completed except for the borders, which is what we will be doing next month. So remember, as you're sewing these long pieces on, you're working from the border or that mini stripe side, and you're coming about 1/8 of an inch away from the design of the stripe, and so you get a teeny tiny little black indentation or line along all these pieces throughout the quilt. So once you've got these two top corner pieces on, you go in to put the same two pieces at the bottom of the quilt, and we're all done except for the borders, which we'll do next time. I hope that you're excited with how yours is coming out. It really looks so different when it comes together as a whole piece than it does when you're just in the individual pieces. So got a lot of sewing to do between now and next month, but it's not too much, shouldn't be too overwhelming. And I think you're seeing that as complex of a design as this quilt seems when you first look at it, putting it together and the piecing of it is really not that difficult at all. So I think now once you get all these done, you can take the papers out. You won't need those papers behind your foundation piece compasses again, and you'll be all set for next time when we do the borders. Have fun.